Dick Albee,
Here.
Bill Connor,
Here.
Ron Hembolt,
Here.
Dennis Otto,
Here.
Lee Trucks.
Here. Approval of minutes. You've all had the minutes for
Move
some
agenda
time.
first.
About the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have the approval of agenda, and it has been suggested that we move the election of officers, which is item 9 to item 1, or it's going to be right after the public comment. Can we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and second to move the election of officers to the first item after the minutes, or after the public comment. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any other changes to the agenda?
No. I'd like to move that I would nominate Lee Trucks for chair for the forthcoming year.
Second?
We need to wait until the approval of minutes and the public comment. Under new business, the first bullet point will be the election of officers. Under section 6, new business, the first bullet will be the election of officers. That's when we should have the election. Is that what?
Okay.
Approval of minutes?
Move to approve?
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment on agenda-related items.
I have one comment on that, and that I thought Kyle was going to present this time, put in the agenda, the permit procedure for this meeting. Did we get that done?
The permit fees, you mean?
Yeah,
Yep, they're under staff reports.
okay.
All right, hearing no public comment, we'll go on to the election of officers.
All right, so at this time, the zoning administrator will ask for, the HDC for nominations for the position of chair. After that, I will say 3 times after the nominations, after asking, that will eventually close and be seconded and voted on, or motioned and seconded to be nominated for the position of chair. Do I have any nominations for the HDC position of chair?
And nominate Lee Trucks for chair.
Second?
Okay, so it's been nominated by Dick Albee, Lee Trucks for chair, seconded by William Connor. Are there any other nominations for position of chair? Are there any other nominations for the position of HDC chair? Lastly, are there any nominations for HDC chair? Hearing none, it's a roll call vote to elect the chair of the Historic District Commission for the year 2020 to year 2021.
Dick Albee,
Yes.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Ron Hembolt,
Yes.
Dennis Otto,
Yes.
and Lee Trucks. Do you accept?
Abstain.
Okay, so now I turn it back over to Lee as the chairman of the HDC.
Now the nominations are open for vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Dick Albee.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations?
No.
Hearing none, we can have a roll call vote.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Lee Trucks,
Yes.
Ron Hembolt,
Yes.
Dennis Otto,
Yes.
and Bill Albee, Dick Albee, I'm sorry.
Abstain.
Okay, Dick Albee is the vice chair for 2020 to 21. The nomination nominations are open for secretary.
I'll nominate Ron Helmholtz.
What exactly is required?
Every once in a while, you need to sign something.
That's basically it?
That's basically it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Ron Humboldt is for secretary. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Could we have a roll call vote?
Dick Albee,
Yes.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Lee Trucks,
Yes.
Dennis Otto,
Yes.
Ron Humboldt.
Should I say no?
You should say abstained.
You say whatever you want.
All right.
All right, we need to appoint a recording secretary, and I think that we continue our current.
Is this really done by staff, the recording secretary's work?
Yeah. So
But
appoint,
we need somebody in the position, but the staff really takes care of the, that happens, okay. I'll nominate Bill Connor.
Wait a minute.
Actually, we could appoint Nancy Day, right?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do we need a motion to do that?
I think you do,
I
yeah.
think you do.
Why not?
Okay, I move that we select Nancy as our recording secretary for the coming year.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Nancy as the recording secretary. Are there any other nominations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. New business, Guardian Angels, National Registry of Historic Places.
All right, so middle of last week, the Guardian Angels came to the planning department regarding applying for the National Register of Historic Places. I'd like to read the memo written from the planning department to the HDC first of all, and then go over the different necessary steps going forward, as well as the application. So to the Historic District Commission from City of Manistee Zoning Administrator regarding Guardian Angels National Register of Historic Places application. Dear Commissioners, Guardian Angels Catholic Church has applied for the National Register of Historic Places. Following this memo is a draft nomination for consideration by the City of Manistee Historic District Commission. Also following this memo are an introductory letter and report from the Michigan State Historic Preservation Office, which is requesting the HDC and the zoning administrator to complete the review form and return it to them after the meeting. You may notice that the set of photos included with this nomination does not match the photo log at the end of the nomination. The Michigan State Historic Preservation Office is waiting on the final set of photos from the applicant, which has been provided. The next step would be for the HDC to give support, an emotion of support, and effectively correctly fill out the form based on recommendation from the commission that the Guardian Angels Church be on the National Register of Historic Places. So basically, the HDC needs to, if they wish, make a motion of support and have the planning staff fill out the form with the correct information based upon things that we've discussed. So following this memo in the packet, you'll see the correspondence from the State Historic Preservation Officer who writes, Dear Mr. Carson, enclosed, please find a draft copy of the Guardian Angels Catholic Church National Register nomination and Certified Local Government National Registration Nomination Review Report form. In accordance with our certification agreement with the city, we request the city's review of this nomination at the earliest available meeting, which is today. Upon review by the HDC, please complete and return us the CLG National Register Nomination Review Report form, along with any comments that either the city or the HDC may wish to make. A copy of this form will be submitted with the final nomination to the keeper of the National Register. Please contact the following people if you have any questions. Sincerely, Brian D. Conway, State Historic Preservation Officer. So the following 50 or so pages is the actual application, ranging from, I'd say, remedial information like the address and different contact people, two photos about the site. Can everyone see what's on on the main screen on their screens?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So this form in front of you will be what the planning staff effectively fills out based upon the decision from today's meeting. It doesn't need to be filled out during the meeting, but some of the information is you can see include the signature of the Certified Local Government Commission chairperson, which would be Lee Trucks, and then the signature of the elected chief official, with which is probably the mayor, I would assume. So all of these different things need to be filled out, including the yes or no's and things like that. That will be handled by staff, which is below the asterisk lines. Does anyone have any questions about this form before we continue?
Well, simply that it really doesn't make any difference that that's over 4 blocks from, about 5 blocks from our district. So they just want a letter of support, basically, is what it is, right?
Yeah.
This is just a general question, but is there any downside to the city to having this building placed on the historical register?
I can't think of any.
Yeah.
It would only aid in the applicant getting grants from national and state organizations, which effectively could help the aesthetic of the city, which would be a benefit to the HDC as well as other agencies. So the commission members need to be filled out in this 1 through 7 form, as well as the professional qualifications. And this CLG needs to find different criteria of significance for the building. I have the different significance in a different PDF if you'd like to go over that now, and we can maybe find some different things on the list and write those down for this part, or you could email them to me with your own private thoughts. Does anyone have any recommendations about that? Let's just go over it then while we're all here together. So the National Register Bulletin goes over the many different needs of let me get this on the full screen, hold on. Sorry, my screen's black, so I have to navigate it from the big screen. Sorry about that.
We have it in front of us, so
What?
it's okay here on our screens.
Great. My screen, I can't see it, so I have to navigate it from this to get to the right. Okay. So this goes over all the different necessary things for Register of Historic Places, including types of significance, the context of the historical buildings and things. So what we need to find out from today is which criteria of significance the HDC finds this property meets, as well as if they find the property meets the National Register standards of integrity. So there's two things, the criteria of significance and the standards of integrity. I'll get to those right now. All right, so it seems that criteria consideration G on your screens, properties that have achieved significance within the past 50 years, that would be the one for criteria of significance. So let me get to that. 42. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so here are some of the different criterias of consideration for properties looking for achieving significance, including historical perspective, VA hospitals, comparison with related properties, post-World War II properties, National Park Service, and historic districts. So here are the 7 aspects of integrity on your screen. So As for the commission to find the property meets the National Register for Standards of Integrity, these different aspects of integrity need to be met about this property, including location, design, and materials, workmanship, things like that.
What do you want us to do, Carl? You want us to say, we think that the location makes it eligible, or the design makes it eligible, or the?
I'd like you to say yes or no that the CLG Commission finds that the property meets the National Register for Standards of Integrity, which is one of the bullet points of the verification form for the National Register nomination review, as requested by SHPO. So I guess it's a yes or no if the commission finds the property meets standards of integrity, including those 7 things.
Do you have any comments here?
Need a motion to that effect?
I would assume so, yeah. Or just a yay or nay vote.
I can make a motion. Okay, I'll move that the commission accept the guardian angels or support the guardian angels in their request to be on the National Registry.
I would second that.
Any more comments?
I guess my comment is, I can't believe it hadn't already been done years ago.
Yeah. No, it's a long, drawn-out, convoluted process of sorts, and it takes some time. So it's great that they're here in the position now to be registered, but I agree, yeah, so. Do we need a roll call vote, do you think, Nancy, or no?
Let's have a roll call, just.
You want a roll call vote? Dick Olby,
Yes.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Ron Hembolt,
Yes.
Dennis Otto,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes.
Okay, so the CLG Commission finds that the property does meet the National Register Standards of Integrity. So that being the recommendation of approval, I will go ahead and go to the criteria of significance, and we can go over the different bullet points as to what that would be, unless you'd like the staff to do that instead.
I don't know why the staff couldn't do it.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. So we've had a motion of support to recommend that the guardian angels be on the National Register of Historic Places, which was what we sought out to do today.
I have a question. One of the people in the audience, did you write this narrative in this document?
Sorry?
Did you write the narrative in the document?
The gentleman who did is not here, he's had to his work.
I didn't hear what you said, but,
The gentleman who wrote it is not here, he's at
oh,
work.
what a great job.
Yes, thank you, we'll tell him. Lot of work,
A lot of work and
I guess.
really well written.
thank you, we'll tell him.
Cal, you need us all to sign then on this,
Oh,
on one document?
on the second page, when it says commission members and professional qualifications, I can get that separately from the meeting.
All right.
But I do need the chairperson of the CLG, Lee, to sign it eventually, whether it be after today or once it's all completed. I'd say after it's all completed, but yeah. Is that okay, Lee?
Yep.
Great. Okay.
Any other approval that you need?
That's all for now, that I can see.
And we're going on to permit review.
I just had a question. Do you know how long it takes to get this approved and from the registry side?
We actually are on the agenda on the 17th, right?
Of this month,
Of this
next Friday.
in Lansing. And then they said it takes 45 days for their experts, so.
So you need this form completed and sent to you before the 17th, obviously.
Please.
Okay.
Well, good luck with that.
Yes, thank you.
I will get that to you as soon as it's completed.
Okay, moving
I'll get that
on,
over
we're
as soon
going
as it's
to old business and permit review. You have a, list of permit. Me?
Too many pages here.
Is this in the?
Here we go.
Way in
at the permits that we have, we have Maxine Lipton, 37 River Street, which has been expired for over a year. Any word from her at all?
She hasn't returned or sent any emails. I'm not sure she even owns the building anymore, to be honest. So
Let's take it off the list.
take it off the list.
Haven't heard from her in a year.
All right,
Permit's expired. If she wants to apply again, she can apply again.
all right.
The other one that we have expired is 100 Washington Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Heard anything from her?
No, they're working on the interior of the building right now. They do have a building permit, therefore they are making some renovations on the interior, but no facade improvements have been showcased. As we drive past there, it's still the same condition, so.
I know they,
Let's consider that expired, and if they want to apply again, they can apply again for facade improvement.
Okay.
The other,
what does that do to the building permit when this expires?
Nothing currently, though, we do have a new building permitter in town, and since we are going to talk about permit fees a little bit later, there could be stipulations for, fees that if they don't have a valid building permit, that the HDC permit is void, which then causes, ramifications through, the permit process,
Good,
which is what we discussed last meeting, right?
right?
Right.
So we'll delete that one from this list also?
Yep.
all right, none of the other ones are, require any action that I can see. Does anyone have any questions about any of the others? 411 River, 347, 349 River, 354 River, 432 River, 340 and 400.
I have no questions.
I do notice that 347 and 349 River, they are making progress, and they framed in the entryways and
I noticed that
done
too.
some things like they said they were gonna.
Looks like they're working on it,
Yep.
slowly.
That's good.
Done anything to their building yet that anybody has noticed?
The Elks Lodge, has done their painting and the windows are in.
All right, oh,
They're nice and large. I mean, they have a modern and rustic look. That's about all. Though 340 River Street may have painted their building. I haven't been by there in a little bit though.
I forgot on 100 Washington, it seems to me that they have done some work on the outside of that building, on the part up on top, which was all glass. They've got that all cleaned off. So, I don't know what they're supposed to do to that building. I don't remember having the original permit.
Well, a lot of it had to do with replacing that tile that's on the outside of the building. That's the major portion of it. There were some other structural changes that basically brought it back to what it used to be in terms of what windows were and things like that.
Okay,
I'd have to go back to the original application
Yeah.
and look at the,
as I recall, it's pretty extensive though.
yeah.
okay.
All right, moving on to public comments and communications. Are there any public comments? Correspondence.
I have a letter of correspondence to be read into record from Kendra C. Thompson Architects to Mr. Lee Trucks, Chairperson, City of Manistee Historic District Commission, dated the 7th of January 2020, regarding Guardian Angels Church, Divine Mercy Parish at 371 Fifth Street, Manistee. Dear Historic District Commission, I'm writing to you regarding the City of Manistee Historic District Commission providing support to the Guardian Angels Church, Divine Mercy Parish, located at 371 Fifth Street, for the nomination to the State and National Registry of Historic Places. As an architect working in the greater Manistee community for 30 years, along with being a childhood native of the community, the importance of historic structures is especially important to me. The Guardian Angels Church was designed by nationally renowned architect Adolphus Druding and is one of the finest examples of Gothic Revival Carolinian-style churches still remaining, having virtually no modernization over the years. Recognition of historic structures is the first step in the process of assuring their appropriate restoration and preservation. Nomination and placement of the historic Guardian Angels Church on the State of Michigan and U.S. Department of Interior National Registry of Historic Places is paramount in the survival of this facility in our community. Preservation of our history is paramount in recognition of our heritage, and heritage provides the path towards a greater tomorrow. I ask the City of Manistee Historic District Commission to endorse and provide support toward achieving State of Michigan and U.S. Department of Interior National Registry of Historic Places status, along with your continued support of the community-based volunteers working diligently to preserve this important structure. Sincerely, Kendra C. Thompson Architects, signed Kendra C. Thompson.
Is there any other correspondence?
That's all.
All right, staff reports.
On the December 17th City Council agenda, the consideration of the change to the schedule of fees was approved for the proposed fee for permit Historic District Commission to be $50 for each permit. That being said, this will go to the City of Manistee's schedule of fees and will hence change the forms for the HDC to have the necessary documentation for fees. So that will go into, the staff will take care of all the necessary documentation and paperwork that entails as well.
All right, along with doing that, we're gonna clean up the time period of the application. Is it 1 year, is it 2 years, is it 6 months? How does it expire?
Yep, so now that we've established the permit fees, the permits in general can be redetermined as to the amount of time, what's the penalty for it, that will be presented at the next meeting.
All right.
So a template permit as well as different order of operations if a permit is expired.
I would think that some permits may require more than a year and some may be less.
Okay, so you think,
Depends on what the project is.
all right, so the timeline of a permit's contingent on the type of work.
Right.
Which would be requested by the applicant and approved by the commission, right?
Approved by us, yeah. But I think it's important for us to determine if there is a time limit at the time we approve it.
To not exceed a certain time? Or is that just determine it based on the case? So, I mean,
Based on the case.
okay, timeline of permit determined by status of and complexity of project determined by the HDC.
Our question, how are we gonna determine how long really it's gonna take?
Well, I think it's as proposed by the applicant. We
And then we just have to agree on it.
Well, when we just go right to a reissue of the permit, to reapply, then if it goes longer than a year, why is it gonna be some 2 years, some 3 years, some 2 years? Doesn't it get confusing?
Well, if somebody's gonna put up an awning, I don't know if we wanna give them a year. And if somebody's gonna redo the whole front of the building and completely redo everything, in some cases, it may take more than a year. And I think they'd ask us for the time that they need, and then we're
Oh,
up.
what I'm saying is you just make it a year, and then if they have to extend it, we'll just do what we do. You don't have to pay a fee, but you just reapply the permit. That's all, that we need an extension. You don't have to, I mean, you're gonna start getting the case by case. I mean, people are gonna go, how come this guy got 6 months, how come they got a year? I don't know that we should do that. Permits ought to be extended for either 6 months at a crack or a year, and then you just renew them if it goes longer than that. How are we gonna make the determination, or they are really too? Weather conditions, I mean, there's a lot of variables.
Well, that's sort of the situation we're in now.
I'm sorry?
That's sort of the situation we're in right now.
Right, yeah, yeah, I don't know that we changed that other than changing the amount and, getting a fee and a reissue if it expires. But if they know they have to, in other words, reapply, and there's no fee, as long as you have to go further, or you reapply, that's all. There shouldn't, I don't know, we need a fee for that, if you need an extension. Only if it expires. That's the idea. If you come within 2 weeks of it expiring and you say, I needed this extension for 6 months or a year, then you just grant it, but there really shouldn't be a fee associated with that. Only if it expires and you want it to expire. then you reapply and new fee then, because you're essentially applying for a new permit based on that. I don't know, I'm just, my point is, I don't know how we're gonna start taking case by case and determine it. We think it should take 2 months for an awning, well, we don't think it should take this long, I don't know you wanna get into that.
I think we let the applicant tell us how long they feel it's going to take.
Right.
And typically, that's gonna be what we will approve, except in maybe some unusual circumstances where we think it's way too long or we think it's not enough. We've had people come here and say, we need this done by December 31, and we've said, well, let's make it June 1 of the next year, to be sure you get it done on time. So we've been pretty generous, it should be, to make sure it gets done, but I think it's good to have a deadline in there. And they have to hit that deadline. It's the Jeff Gordon thing all over again. It's been extended 10 years, 1 year at a time. It never expires. We keep it, we and the prior commission members have continued to keep extending that. I don't wanna do that anymore.
What we're really trying to do is ensure that these projects get finished.
Oh, that's the whole
It's
idea.
not about, it's not about the fee, it's just that we, you know, if they will get started, we want them to finish. We don't wanna have to renew it 10 years. And so, you know, so I think they set an expiration date up, they request it, we approve it, and it goes beyond that, it expires, and then they have to pay again for a new application.
Would you let them come in before it expires to request an extension?
They could do that.
Well, yeah, then you have to, that's kind of the whole idea. I'm running by, I wanna reapply for an extra 6 months or a year or whatever, yeah.
Is applying for an extension different than reapplying?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is applying for an extension different than reapplying? If they apply for an extension before.
I would
that
think not,
expires?
as long as you don't let it expire. The expiration is where it comes in, where you have to reapply new, which means we gotta see your drawings, the whole fee, that's why you get the fee and everything else.
I mean, we could phrase it such that if you come in before it expires and ask for an extension, the fee's $25. If you let it expire and reapply, it's $50.
Or, yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like that. That keeps an incentive to keep,
going on the
Yeah.
project, exactly.
For simplicity's sake, too, it would probably be reasonable to have just one period of time, like a year, even though that's kind of silly in terms of putting up an awning or painting the front or something like that, but just for simplicity's sake, for Kyle's peace of mind.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, we could all have them all a year, but if somebody comes in with a huge project, like I would consider the project on the Blix building.
We have somebody from the public who wants to talk. Got some way of clearing, helping us understand.
Just one point, what I was,
Like if you wanna come and paint your.
what if I come in
River Street
here November,
and see me and I can approve
building in
that,
June, what do you do?
So where does the transaction and money take
I wanna paint my building, but I can't do it because of the weather. Again, how do we determine how long, because it could be a week project, how are we gonna determine if the guy says, hey, I don't wanna do it till June? See, what do you do? Well, why not? He wants to apply for a permit,
I'll bring it up in the.
it's done, but why, see, that's what I'm getting into, I don't know how you're gonna do it, because there's variables to say, to determine, hey, you gotta have it done in 3 weeks. How are we gonna do that when there's our variables?
I think if he says, I wanna paint it next June, we give him a deadline of June 30th.
I think that what we ought to do at this point is wait for staff to come up with a concrete proposal.
Yep, I will,
They have, okay, yeah, do they have guidelines, I would imagine?
If I may interrupt, there are certain things that the museum director is given approval to do via the HDC. That's when people come and if you were to buy a building on River Street and within the district and you want to paint it a different color, they will come and see me and I can approve that through the HDC. As well as routine repair and maintenance. I've approved awnings, signage, brick and mortar work, stuff like that. So it was done that way, so not every little thing has to come before the HDC. It makes it easier for the commission, makes it easier for the applicant. And there are certain things, such as the Elks project, where they wanted to do windows and wanted to do a bigger project, that they came to see me first. I discussed it with the applicant, and then I told them to come before the HDC to discuss the project more in depth and more in detail, and have you guys give your final approval on it. So there are certain things like that that I have the power to approve. If you want every little tiny thing to come before you, then I guess you'll have to figure that out with Kyle.
No,
but-
I don't think that's our thinking at all.
Yeah.
Our thinking is that we just get tired of the projects that come in. And
I
nothing's done
understand.
on the project, and then you renew it for another year, and nothing's done on the project.
I understand, yeah.
It goes on and on and on and on.
And that's just the thing is typically in all the years that I've been involved with the Historic District Commission, we give them, 365 days. And if it's not done after that with the new fee, I think that will be some sort of incentive that even if they have to reapply, they got to put that $50 down, because then that will give people, because believe me, I've seen the complete cycle. I've been here for all the years of the Paula Rosemerick and Jeff Gordon thing. If you got to pay $50 over 10 years, that's a good chunk of change. I just want to make sure that everyone on the commission, I know we have new members, that I am able to approve those things, those smaller things, if need be for the applicant, because it makes it a lot easier on them, so.
Do you have any comments or complaints or changes that might be made in terms of the kind of things that you approve?
Typically, no.
Have you ever run into any problems?
Any problems that I've ever run into, I've been told in the past by the previous planning and zoning administrator, as well as the previous city manager, that if I run into any problems, that's what the commission's for. To come, there have been many cases where people want something really quick, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and all right, take a breath. You're going to have to go to the Historic District Commission. Here are the forms, here's the proper procedure, and then I send them over to the Planning and Zoning Administrator, and then they could set it up with Kyle to come before you. So I'm kind of the litmus test on that to a certain degree, depending on how big the project is, or if it's something that hasn't really been done before, or we really haven't dealt with it before, then I say, well, you're gonna have to take it before the Historic District Commission. That happens a couple times a year, maybe. So.
Sorry to interrupt, Mark.
Yeah, Kyle.
So when someone comes before you for, say, something that you can't approve and they need to pay the fee, you'd send them to?
I will, then if they have to pay the fee, then I'll send them directly to you then. After they get my approval,
Yeah.
then they can send it to Kyle.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can work that out between us.
Okay, so,
Somebody might say, hey, I've got Mark's signature, I'll just go ahead with the project and, not give you the money. Maybe I'll have them come see you first. And-
so,
I have no problem with that whole plan, the way you're doing it.
Okay.
But what happens when you're not there anymore?
Then whoever the museum director is, will have that,
Before Mark, it was Steve Carroll.
yeah.
so is the permit contingent on payment? It won't be issued until there's payment,
I
right?
think it should be contingent on payment, if that's what, my personal thought is that if it's contingent on payment, that's what this is all for, then they should, go see you first,
Yeah.
pay the fee, then come down and get my approval if need be. So.
Okay.
Kyle, can you come up with something for the next meeting in terms of what the form looks like, what a term is?
Yeah, I can I'll make a template for them, yeah.
We'll do that at that point.
Yep.
Moving on.
Thanks.
Can I get clarity on something? So you're saying that you want to get the fee paid before you approve?
Well, I mean, if you were to come in and get my approval for this building you bought and you want to paint it a different color, well, here's my approval, here's the permit.
No, you don't do that. What you do is approve it, stamp it, and say, go pay the fee. He stamps it as approved.
Okay,
So
What I'm
maybe
saying
on the,
is
if you want to do that, however you want to do it.
maybe on the
yeah.
form,
The only thing I'm thinking is, if he pays you first, then what he come and say, well, I can't approve this. Well, whatever, are you gonna start refunding money?
Good point, yeah.
This way you're covered. He pays if it's approved.
Because I go, okay, if you want to paint your building beige, well then, here's my signature, go see Kyle.
and there's
He stamps it approved, and then he writes a check.
He
and
writes a
pays
check for it.
2 lines of signature, the museum curator and the zoning administrator.
I think that works good.
The understanding is we don't want to deny any permits at all.
Well, yeah, of course, well,
If it's.
if it meets
we
the,
don't have to change it until it meets this.
yes, if it meets the standards and so on and so forth, yeah.
A way to approve everything.
We discussed.
All right, can we move on?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Historic Preservation Network membership. Kyle, do you have some words on that?
Yep, the membership renewal is in the works. There's enough money in the HDC budget to afford a HDC membership to the MHPN, which is up to 10 members. I filled out the MHPN 10 different members, including everyone on the staff, the 2 openings for 2 new members, including the Director of Planning, Nancy, and myself to round out the 10. That being said, like I said, there's enough money in the account. It's in the works through the city clerk, and by next meeting, theoretically, we should have membership.
Good. You need a motion on that?
No.
I don't think so.
Good.
All right, there, we do have a bylaw review, which we're supposed to do. You have a copy of the current bylaws. Does anybody have any requests for any changes in the bylaws or anything like that at this point? Have you reviewed it?
I reviewed it.
Hearing no requests for any changes or discussion on the bylaws, I think we're ready for adjournment.
Member discussion. I just want to note that I will be absent from the February meeting.
I second that.
I think we're supposed to. I just read the bylaw and said we had to tell you in advance, so I'm making sure I tell you in advance.
All right, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
We adjourn?